guys, we are starting a new chapter, so let's go.
Welcome to the Explainer. So, today we're going to break down the complex, but honestly really exciting world of green energy. We're talking about the fuels of tomorrow, the smart tech that makes it all happen, the whole shebang. Okay, let's just dive right in. So, let's kick things off with a pretty bold vision. This quote from Niti Aayog isn't just throwing out big numbers. It's framing exactly what's at stake in this global energy shift. We're talking massive benefits, not just for the environment, but for the economy too.
Okay, but before we can build that green future, we got to get real about where we are right now. And the truth is, our world runs on a fossil fuel habit that is, well, it's a really tough one to kick.
And this slide, it just lays it out so perfectly. This is the fundamental choice we're facing. You've got the old way on one side, centralized, polluting, and totally dependent on whoever's selling the fuel. And on the other side, a new way, local, clean, and self-reliant. It's literally a choice between a resource that's running out and one that's all around us. You know, the fallout from this fossil fuel habit is pretty severe. And we're not just talking about global warming. We're talking about the air we breathe, the impact on our health, and economies that are constantly vulnerable to sudden price spikes. And of course, the international tensions that come from being dependent on other countries for your energy. All right, so the big question is, how do we finally kick this habit? Well, it all starts with completely reinventing how we make and use our electricity. And right at the heart of this whole reinvention is one key idea: decentralization. Think about it. Instead of these huge, faraway power plants that lose a ton of energy just sending electricity down the line, we're shifting to making power right where we use it. We're talking about our own rooftops, our own neighborhoods, our own communities. And the cool thing is, there's no single silver bullet here. It's more like having a whole toolbox of clean energy options, right? What works in a sunny village is totally different from what works in a windy coastal town. This approach lets us customize our energy to fit the local environment perfectly. Okay, so we've talked about electricity, but that's just one piece of the puzzle, right? What about the fuel that's powering our cars, our trucks, our heavy industry? Yeah, this is where things start to get really interesting. I'm sure you've heard all the buzz about hydrogen being this amazing, clean fuel of the future. But here's the thing. There's a little secret you need to know. A colorful secret, actually, before you can really call it green. And what's so fascinating here is that the color tells you the whole story about how clean the hydrogen actually is. Gray hydrogen, which is the most common right now, actually pumps out a lot of CO2. Blue is a step up, but it's still tied to fossil fuels. The real game changer, the one we're aiming for, is green hydrogen. That's the one made with zero emissions using renewable energy. And listen, this isn't just some sci-fi dream for the distant future. This number, 5 million metric tons, that is India's ambitious goal for how much green hydrogen it wants to produce every year by 2030. That's a massive bet on the absolute cleanest form of hydrogen fuel. Okay, so besides hydrogen, there's another major player that comes straight from nature: biofuels. They're made from stuff like plants, algae, even old organic waste, and you can turn them into a replacement for gasoline. But, as you're about to see, it's not quite that simple. Look, on the one hand, the promise of biofuels is pretty compelling. I mean, turning waste into energy, that's a huge win. It can create new jobs and income in rural areas, and the fuels themselves are cleaner than their fossil fuel cousins. But then you flip the coin and, well, you've got to weigh some really serious environmental costs. You've got the whole food versus fuel debate. Should we be using land to grow fuel instead of food? Not to mention worries about deforestation, massive water use, and fertilizer pollution. It's this tricky trade-off that makes many experts think biofuels are best for specific uses, like aviation, where other green options are still a long way off. Okay, so we've been talking pretty big picture, right? Energy grids, global fuel supplies. Let's bring it all back home and see how this green transition is already showing up in our daily lives, in the cars we drive, and even the food we eat. And a huge part of that is, of course, electric vehicles. The benefits are pretty clear, right? No exhaust means cleaner air in our cities, they're super quiet, and because electricity is cheaper than gas and they have fewer moving parts, they're often way cheaper to run and maintain. But, and you knew there was a but coming, right? Just like biofuels, EVs aren't perfect. That upfront cost can be a barrier, and making the batteries has its own environmental footprint. But maybe the most crucial point to remember is this: an EV is only as clean as the electricity you plug it into. And you know, this whole green revolution isn't just about our cars. It's also changing one of our oldest industries, farming. And a simple little device like this, it's right at the center of that change.
This is what smart agriculture is all about. And the goal is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Use technology to grow more food with less. In a world that's dealing with climate change and water shortages, it means using every drop of water and every bit of fertilizer as efficiently as humanly possible.
So what's the secret sauce? What's the powerful, almost invisible force that's making all of this incredible innovation, from local power grids to smart farms, even possible? I mean, really think about that for a second. That kind of power almost seems like magic. Well, the answer is hiding in plain sight. It's artificial intelligence and something called green computing. And this is a perfect little snapshot of how it works. AI can chew through insane amounts of data, from weather satellites, from sensors on the ground, and spot patterns that no human ever could. It turns all that noise into predictions we can actually use to manage everything from our power grid to wildlife conservation. But here's the thing. As our world gets more and more digital, we have to make sure our technology isn't actually part of the problem. And that's where green computing comes in. It's all about making sure that the digital backbone of our green future is, actually green itself. It's a critical piece of the puzzle. So, after all this, where does that leave us? Well, we're left with a really powerful thought. The technology is here. We have the solar panels, we have the green hydrogen, we have the smart sensors and the powerful AI. The tools to build a sustainable world are already in our hands. So the real question isn't, what can we do anymore? It's, what will we choose to do?